And there we go. We're right on time to start.
Hello YouTube, hello Odyssey, hello Rumble, welcome and hello other platforms. Welcome to the It's Podcast episode 33.
Yep.
Oh, 43.
And
I
yes,
misspoke.
43. Now let me show you what's for lunch today. Now I swear to God, I'm not stoned. I'm just stoned. um, but I made pizza nachos. I swear to God, I'm not stoned. This was just an idea I had.
Is that like a popular meal for druggies or?
It's something that I think someone who is stoned would come up with. 'Cause I've come up with some weird concoctions whenever I've gotten stoned. Like I put
Okay.
mayonnaise and barbecue sauce and like raw red onions together on a sandwich.
Whatever.
When you're stoned, like you'll just shovel anything into your mouth practically.
Say
And it's like,
so.
I don't care about the combination. I'm just hungry. But anyways, today's topic. Um, again, Andy suggested talking about the election, but I don't want to talk directly about the election because I don't want to be divisive and contentious. So we'll just
Yeah,
talk
well,
about
what?
divisive and contentious.
What's that first word?
Divisive meaning dividing,
Ah.
eh, you know, effectively intentionally causing arguments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we'll talk about leadership, and what qualities make for a good leader. Now, in one of my favorite games, God of War, um, there is a side quest where Kratos takes Atreus to this boat captain, who unfortunately, through his actions, ended up killing his whole crew. So Atreus is confused as to why, Kratos is having him do this quest. Because Kratos had been against helping any spirits before. Now, I think partially it's an act of contrition for, the boat captain who he basically absolutely shafted in the first two games. But he teaches Atreus an important lesson that even good leaders make mistakes sometimes, but the best leaders take responsibility for them. I think we can agree with that assessment, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Andy, you'd agree with that assessment?
Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately that is missing from our leadership class today for sure. I think worldwide nobody wants to take responsibility for shit. I think we can definitely agree on that, right? Guys?
I'm
There?
not like much in the political, or any leader scene, so
Oh,
I.
I think it's definitely the truth that, yeah, a lot of our leadership class today tries to duck and dodge responsibility and take no responsibility for anything, any mistake they make. But at the same time, I think it's because there's no incentive structure for them to ever own up to mistakes. You know, um, now in terms of I guess other fictional examples, do you have any examples of good leadership, Nate?
Well, I actually thought about it during the day, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, in the book series Warriors, there is literally the position called leader, and uh, yeah, bad cats get it, good cats get it, and it's just like you know, mm, stuff. Luckily, I mean, usually in the law there is well, there is a rule, but I think that got actually abandoned, that the word of the leader is the law.
So what? It
So
became more
that
democratic.
is like what?
It became more democratic.
Uh, well, I think not really. I mean, they still had like the leadership portion of a clan is still like made up of three positions: the leader, the deputy, and the medicine cat or healer or whatever you want to call them.
Hmm.
And so that's that. So it's like it's not like I forgot how. When a single person is in position of power, I think that's either dictatorship or one other word that were we were taught about different mm,
Well,
leadership structures in school. But yeah, I mean, like they are the main three, and of course, like they get opinions from like from the clan, like.
right.
But
Well, I mean,
they are.
it really depends on where you go and what the leadership structure ends up being. But if it's
Mm,
ruled through lineage, then yeah, that's a monarchy. And typically,
no, it's not usual. Like, well, I mean, they try to not like have it like a monarchy. Even though, I mean, at least in ThunderClan, I mean, the position of power is usually kept between two like lineages.
yeah, that's still effectively a monarchy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
But hey, I
there may
mean,
be
sometimes there is like a random newcomer that gets like the deputy position because they trust, because like they earn the trust and mentor a few people, and then the leader dies and you're the leader now. Congrats. Here's
yeah,
your 9 lives. Be
yeah.
good.
Um,
And look, I mean, it worked so far. I mean, of course, we've had terrible leaders in the series. Terrible in the meaning that they just wanted it fucking all. They didn't want to sit in their own territory. They wanted the whole fucking. I don't know. They wanted the forests, the moors, the river, and the swamplands.
yeah, I mean that's typically how ambitious conquerors go. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely. The first Tiger Star is definitely like this ambitious conqueror type.
And ambitious conquerors who don't know how to consolidate power are typically punished throughout history.
Yeah, he got killed in like in one swoop by an outsider cat who he wanted to help him. Like he kind of like recruited it, but but it was like the same cat who he hurt in the past,
Right.
and like hurt like very badly. I mean, like it made him fucking run away from his like and it was like a house cat and this wild fucking huge yeah. So he got
Definitely
his
seems like a Caesar reference there.
what?
Definitely seems like a Julius Caesar reference there.
How so?
Julius Caesar, his end came through a betrayal, if you remember.
Eh, I mean, like, yeah,
Effectively,
I guess this
yeah,
was like that too. I
aka
mean, he was like,
Act 2,
Scourge was
Brute.
planning it all along. Like, he was just like, yeah, whatever.
Right. I mean, yeah, granted, Caesar's conspirators, they had a big plan that they ended up executing, and again, ended up getting away with based on circumstance. But there's always that interesting parallel, and
hmm
it is due to a leader who is not consolidating their power very well. Um, in a sense, yes, if you're a ruler of some kind, if you have ambitions of any kind, you need to consolidate power whenever you conquer an area, meaning you need to make nice with everybody, you need to, you know, smooth things over as best you can, or someone is going to angle to shiv you in the back.
Yeah, he did not like, do that. He was just like, well, this is now mine. Fuck off. We have the
Mhm.
numbers advantage.
Right.
So, yeah, that is definitely, and we have his like, well, I don't know if I would call like like a pair, not a barrel. like an opposite, like of like a good leader, obviously in Firestar because you know
Right.
he is the warrior, the the warrior cat, the kitty,
Hmm.
and yeah, like he's just he's he solved it. He lost a life like during the big battle, but yeah, and he
When
was
was the
just
last like
there for
warrior
what?
king?
What?
Well, I'm trying to think of like when the last warrior king was in history. Um, because that is sort of a tradition where it's like a warrior king, and like that was another thing. It's like a king had to fight alongside his troops, and if he didn't, he was viewed as a punk.
Yeah.
And they're like they just didn't respect him.
Yeah, this is
Oh.
actually also depicted in like, well, not kind of like depicted, but in Galimtido's series, like The Stolen Hope, there are King Augustus and Queen Hazia, and like they were like attacked by their enemy kingdom or cursed empire, as it's like called,
Mhm.
and yeah, and like both and Augustus is pretty old but he
Yep.
still want to fight. And Hazia is blind, but luckily, like she has spirit vision to help her out. So yeah, and she like said that like she would rather like fight or rather than like staying protected in her castle. I don't remember the exact dialogue, but yeah. She was just like,
Well,
no, I'm going out there. I'm not gonna just, let people fight for me. I wanna also fight.
well, my people, the Vikings. Obviously, we have our idea of Viking heaven, Valhalla, where you go if you die in glorious battle, and no king or ruler or jarl, you know, they did not want to die of old age. So, again, it wouldn't be uncommon for some old 60-year-old dude, who's bald and has a bit of a hunch, is going into battle because he is hoping to die in glory. And if he has
That
his son to take over, then yeah, no biggie. He just does not want the gates of Valhalla closed to him.
right.
But to get Andy in a bit more on the conversation, um, a obviously, Zach Bell's idea of the monarchy is earned, meaning through the battle, someone has to win the title, which I think is an honestly good idea for a monarchy because it, you know, means you actually have to sustain your rule through not just strength, but also wise leadership, or otherwise you're going to be deposed. And as we're seeing in the Zatch Bell sequel, Zatch is certainly being tested with that, isn't he, Andy?
Yeah, he is. He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's doing a good job so far.
Like what he has to work with, absolutely. Um, Again, he's facing an enemy that wants nothing less than the absolute extermination of his people. So it's like when you're faced with that and you're presented with completely new challenges along with it, you have to make very careful moves. And for someone who is as frankly silly as Zatch was, he's making very smart decisions for what he can do. Um, and it's a careful game to play. I mean, Nate, what would you? Is there any like examples of earned monarchy in some of the stuff you look at, like a trial by combat or anything?
What? What by combat?
Trial by combat for whoever becomes king.
Uh, I mean, well, I guess I'm. Look, I mean, hmm. technically, I'm trying to think. Give me something. Because like, I'm just like, again, like, going into warriors because obviously you can kill like all of the all, like, the leader and the deputy, and
Right.
then like, kind of grab yourself into the spot, even though uh I don't know how Tiger Star rose to power there, because obviously, like, he was an outsider then. But yeah, I mean, and I think that because, like, uh they go to a special place, either like, the moon pool or the moonstone, where, like, the spirits, so like, the Star Clan cats, they give them the 9 lives, and therefore, like, solidifying their position as leader. You can technically be like, a leader without the extra lives, but then you are easily killable.
Right.
And others can then take, like, take over, and then it's then it becomes like a mess. Mm.
Well,
So yeah. And I mean that technically, like, only proper, I guess, well, I mean, how I would call trial by combat is when Rusty had to fight Longtail to, like, prove that he is able to be trained, like, like Wildcat,
mhm,
where his, like, collar snapped off, and, like, the clan cats took it as a sign, like, yep.
right.
And
I mean,
eventually he did became Firepaw and Fireheart and Firestar, so
Firepaw, Fireheart, and Firestar, those are the titles, effectively.
well, the paw is the suffix given to apprentices.
Hmm.
Then, of course, if you complete your training, you get your, like, full warrior name. So
Okay.
and the star is the suffix for leaders. Yes.
Okay. So, well, what's interesting is that, in Zatch Bell, the first series, the reason why there's the whole battle to become king in the long term is certainly because throughout the battle, you can't do it 100% alone. Nobody can. It's literally impossible. So, along the way, whether you want to call it making friends or coalition building, that is inevitable. You have to create alliances and coalitions to be able to win. Again, it's something that kings inevitably had to do throughout history. If they wanted their reign to be sustained at all. Now, I mean, the question that we're facing with, the sequel, obviously, is, how you handle an enemy nation that wants to exterminate you. And that's always, a tough question. But in terms of, like, trial by combat, there has been historical examples as well. Again, my people, the Vikings, if you had a legit claim and you were, a member of the village, and you felt that the Jarl's, ruling was not, justified, you could challenge the Jarl to trial by combat with someone backing up your claim. And if, obviously, the Jarl loses or dies, then he has to either step down or just be dead. It's again that's a funny sentence. It's like he has to step down or just be dead.
Um,
um, oh, what's up, Andy?
I was just gonna say that I'll just say one thing about the election directly, and that's that the fact that after this whole thing is done, all these satanic pedophile child rapists dead as shit. They're gonna be fucked. Your Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas, all these people dead as fuck.
Uh, I don't know about that, but in terms of democracy, why that's always a troubling sort of leadership structure is that
What are you
I mean,
talking about? We are doing good. Actually, our president, I'm gonna have to raise him up. Yes, our government also yes. Even though the the political side party thing that was doing the most for minorities is getting pushed out, which is and I hope for them to come back because hello, we almost had it. But hey, otherwise it's good. Our
well,
democracy in the Czech Republic, hell yeah.
well, I mean, it's sort of like a blessing in disguise that you guys have been ruled by both kinds of extremists. So,
Yeah.
your entire populace is completely against extremism from either end. So, they.
Yeah, we have some of all these and others who still vote for the for the Communist Party.
All right. But
The leftover from the era is just like
it's just that they'll never ever have a big enough coalition to ever get anywhere. You know?
no, they're just always in the bottoms, just yeah. They tried, didn't make
You
it
guys
again.
actually have full representative voting, or is it first past the post?
There are definitely several voting events. There's the first round, and because also we have different sections. We vote the Senate, the Parliament, and that stuff. So yeah.
I mean, basically how ours works is that we have a primary where you pick your candidates from each party, and then you have the general election. The general election for the presidency, the House, and the Senate is this Tuesday. And I guess we'll see what happens on Tuesday. It's looking to be a very, very close election. At least on appearances. We'll see what happens. Because right now we have basically party breakdown votes, and I mean it's again still pretty tight, but ultimately when they release precinct data, which should be tomorrow night, is when we have an idea of how the votes exactly are breaking down. You know, because you can be from one party and vote for a different candidate.
So that's if you don't have election fraud.
Huh?
That's if you don't have election fraud with fake ballots.
Well, we'd have to see how much there actually is. That's a whole other topic. But I guess the main point. Morocco. Hey, sorry about that. Morocco. You order something? Did you order something?
Yeah, for me.
Oh, do I need to open the door? Morocco. Hey.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry about that.
All right, well, in a minute.
You know how he's a guard dog.
Okay.
Okay. So the point that I was going to get to is that the main flaw we have with democracy is that stupid people vote.
Democracy is
stupid.
nothing more than a guise for totalitarian
That's the thing. You can vote your way into a dictatorship. You cannot vote your way out of it. That's just how
if your vote actually matters. And in a real democracy, your vote doesn't actually matter. It never does.
I mean, in a real democracy, your vote, should matter. And on top of this, it's on smaller scale, it's a single person can make a difference. voting for the mayor of a town, it's like, yeah, sometimes those can get decided by 10, 20, 30 votes. You know.
If you're talking about a
Where-
local level, that's fine. But if you're talking about a national level, no, it
Oh
doesn't.
yeah,
It doesn't work.
you're a drop in a vast ocean on the national level. You know,
It's
like,
not even just about that. It's also about the fact that democracy in and of itself is again, like I said, it's just a guise for totalitarianism, because the rich people behind the scenes, they decide who you vote for, and if
they,
they
they
don't,
they want to, you know. They would love it if, you know,
no,
there
that's what
wasn't
they
even
do. That's what they do.
yeah.
That's every single candidate that we get is always picked by them. It's
Effectively,
like
yeah.
Wait, which country are you from again?
US.
the U.S. of A.
No, yeah, that.
I mean, it's the
Yeah,
same worldwide.
yeah,
It's not any difference. It's not any different in other countries.
Yeah.
I would say that we like, it was like,
If you live in a
there's-
Western style so-called democracy, then your leaders are picked behind the scenes before you even ever hear their names. That's how
Pretty much,
it's worked.
yeah.
That's how it's always worked.
I don't know what, like, if this is a Western style. All I would
I
say
would
that
say
it's
Czech
Slavic
Republic
style,
is,
motherfucker.
I would say it's
Middle
what would
Europe,
be
bitch.
considered a Western style government.
Central. Yeah, we are
Because-
Central Europe. We don't do that.
Okay, well, call it by your locality if you want, but it's the Western style idea of, you know, democracy and and basically Republican style governance, where you are a republic with representatives and everything.
And by the way, just to let you know, we're not supposed to be a democracy. We're supposed to be a republic. So,
we are, yes. That's also been the frustrating thing. It's like,
Wait, what? So
okay,
we
so
should call you like Republic of the United States or what?
that's what we're supposed to be. But as
Yeah,
of the last
supposed to be
100 years or
between.
so, as of the last 100 years or so, they
Mm-hmm.
brainwashed the public so hard to think that we're a quote unquote democracy. I
Well,
hate that word democracy so much.
that and there is a
Guess
huge
who's a republic? Us.
well, that and there's a huge problem with the idea of universal suffrage, where it's just like your only qualification for voting is that you are 18 years old and a citizen of the country. That is a insanely low bar. You know, it's like,
it didn't used to always be like that back in the
yeah,
day.
it didn't used to be. It didn't, like, again, back before everyone wants to call it a women's suffrage amendment, but and here's the thing, it's like, yes, I'm all for women being able to vote, but at the same time, it was really a universal suffrage amendment. It basically shifted it from, you know, property ownership to nobody needing any property to vote. And the main problem is the reason why they called it a women's suffrage amendment is because, yes, property was oftentimes passed patrilineally. Like, literally 95% of the time, any property ownership was passed from father to son. Hell, sometimes it went from father to nephew before it even went to the daughter. And yeah, that was a serious problem. But at the same time, it's like, that isn't to say we shouldn't have zero qualifications for, you know, who gets to vote. It's like, in my opinion, we should at least have some kind of, like, civics test. You know, and that civics test is something you have to pass every year to be able to vote. You know, it's like, can you name the mayor of your town? Can you name your representative and what the last thing they did was? You know, if you can't name that, it's like, no, you shouldn't vote because you are pitifully non-engaged.
I mean, I don't know, like, who the mayor of my town, my city is, but, I know that, like, what
If you wanted
which
to vote,
political
you'd probably
party,
learn
like,
that, wouldn't you?
wants to do.
Right, but
If you don't
my
know
point is,
anything about
you wanted
if
to
you don't know
vote,
anything about politics, you shouldn't have a say, because at the end of the day, the only reason why they made it easier for people to vote is because they wanted to lure in a bunch of suckers and then make them guilt trip them, and so that way the far left can get
Oh,
easy
stars.
votes. That's real.
That
That's
reminds
really
me of the one time when one political party gave out fucking free donuts to to seniors to
Well, that's straight up
basically like buy a vote, and I was just like, and they an on time TV interviewer asked them, will you now vote for the party now that you have a
got a free
donut,
donut.
and they
Yeah.
answered like, yes, I will, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
bro, what the heck.
Yeah, they did the same thing during the COVID
yeah.
bullshits. So there you
Yeah.
go.
I mean, it's again, you should. That's the thing. If it came down to knowing this shit in order to vote, I guarantee you, people would try to be more informed. At the very least, to a bare minimum level of expectation. Because Israel, believe it or not, their suffrage actually comes with military service. And it's not bound by gender because Gal Gadot. I don't know if you know who she is, but I think you know her most notable role, Wonder Woman. She served in the Israeli armed forces, so it's like it's not bound by gender, that's for sure.
Oh God, don't even get me started on the Israel. Oh God.
Well, but
We'll be here all
that's
fucking day.
right. But that's my main point, And on top of this, full disclosure, I do have a bit of a celebrity crush on Gal Gadot. Not gonna lie, I do like how she looks as Wonder Woman. I will not lie about that. But anyways, I'm needing to go hit the gym and everything, and Morocco needs his walkie. We'll go ahead and wrap it up here. I guess, Nate, what are your closing thoughts on what kind of qualities you think make a good leader?
Well, definitely, don't be alone on that. Have a
Right.
group of people that, have different expertise that you can turn on to, and, listen to your state,
Mm-hmm.
or country, I don't know what you want to call it.
Or your locality.
I mean, yeah, I guess if you mean leader as, again, a mayor of a town, then yeah.
Mayor of a town or, governor of a region, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Andy, what are
Yeah.
your closing thoughts on what you feel makes a good leader?
What makes a good leader?
Mhm.
What makes a good leader? Somebody who, first of all, somebody who actually cares about their country and isn't just a puppet of some higher of some international globalist. Somebody who actually is willing to have a good, proper, real monetary system. One who doesn't, one who puts their country first and doesn't, and as I said before, isn't a globalist. And one who just in general actually gives a damn about it is an actual leader, not just a puppet. At the end of the
Right.
day, that's mainly mainly what we have in the Western world, like that piece of shit in freaking France, for example.
Right. I mean, the main thing.
And also one that arrests these pedophiles and executes them. These child sexual predators.
I mean, I can agree with that. We shouldn't. That's the thing. It shouldn't require, Chris Hansen to get the job done. This shouldn't be a. It should be a bare minimum expectation for that. It's just like. I get the power of Chris Hansen compels them, but at the same time, it's like the power of Chris Hansen shouldn't be necessary.
Yeah, if you all I'll say is it's not just politicians that Epstein was linked to. It's also people like LeBron James and Lady Gaga, Madonna.
I'm sure that list
you know.
is enormous.
Oh, it's a big list. You're gonna see a lot of Hollywood people and politicians go down. It's not
Well,
just Diddy.
but I guess my closing thoughts on what makes a good leader, like I said at the beginning, the best leaders, even the best ones, will make mistakes. Mistakes is all part of being human. You're gonna make mistakes. But again, the best leaders take responsibility for those mistakes. They own up to them, and they try to do right by them. Again, regardless of what your the scale of your leadership is. You know, if you make a mistake, own up to it. You know, because you try to spiral into a hurricane of lies, and it's just going to keep spiraling. And that's the thing. It's like the main thing that, you know, about a lie is that all truth inevitably comes to the surface. As the saying goes, the bill does come due. But that's it for today. I'll go ahead and wrap us up so I can take Morocco for a walk and go hit the gym, and then when I come back, we'll get the stream started. It's fantasy month. I always like doing fantasy after after horror. Again, I need to do like a fully fledged video on that, like why my fall feels like the time for fantasy. But the next video for sure I need to do. I just looked this up. No one has done a talk on franchise shelving, so I'm actually gonna be the first one to do a video on that. And
Wait, what do you mean by franchise shelving?
again, just putting a franchise on the shelf for like 5 or 10 years. You know, to just wait for fresh perspectives to be injected into it. You know, and like no one's done a video on that. You know, and so I'm gonna do a video on that. Just to be the person to have a video on that. But at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Nate, go ahead and do the honors.
All right. Bye, YouTube. Bye, Odyssey. Bye, Rumble. This has been the Idiots Podcast.
Yep.